Welcome to the Vermont Child Welfare Training Partnership's Home But Not Alone Family Connection series. I'm Janine Beaudry, a training specialist with the Vermont Child Welfare Training Partnership, and my fellow training specialist, Sharon O'Neill, is also on this call here today and will be helping keep track of comments and getting you information that might be helpful. Sharon will mute everyone to start to limit background noise. As we go through, there will be a few slides where I ask you questions, so feel free to unmute yourself to speak or to type your responses. I won't be able to see what you type, but Sharon will read off your responses so we can all hear them. Today I want to talk with you about the heart of self-care, self-compassion. To illustrate the skill of self-compassion, I'd like to tell you a story that has become legend in my home. There are two heroes in this story. The first is Pizza. Pizza, being a hero in this story, is the topic of a whole different self-care discussion. The second hero is, of course, self-compassion. Before we begin our story, it's important to define self-compassion. Self-compassion is a term coined by Dr. Kristin Neff, who's done extensive research on the topic. Her website, selfcompassion.org, has many resources, including TED Talks, articles, self-assessments, reflections, and activities on self-compassion. Please check it out when you have a chance. Compassion literally means to suffer with. Self-compassion is essentially noticing your own suffering and being moved in a heartfelt way by your suffering such that you want to help by offering yourself warmth, caring, and understanding, just like your best friend would do. Instead of mercilessly judging and criticizing yourself for various inadequacies or shortcomings, self-compassion means you are kind and understanding when confronted with personal failings. After all, who ever said you were supposed to be perfect? There are many benefits to practicing self-compassion, some of which are that it boosts happiness, increases self-worth, improves body image, reduces stress, and builds resilience. The three main elements of self-compassion are self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. These three elements are interconnected. Practicing self-kindness rather than self-judgment means offering yourself warmth and comfort when things are difficult, painful, or don't turn out the way you'd hoped, rather than berating yourself with harsh criticism. For instance, your inner voice of self-judgment might say, "Yep, there you go again. Why can't you get anything right?" But imagine how much more resilient you would feel in the same circumstance if your inner voice kindly said, "Oh man, it's so hard when you really try and aren't able to get the outcome you hoped for." Tapping into common humanity rather than isolation means recognizing that pain, suffering, and failure are part of being human. Just like everyone else, you have limitations along with your strengths and abilities, and sometimes things just don't go your way, or you just aren't able to do something well. Sometimes you are not your best self, just like everyone else. We sometimes get in the habit of thinking, "Everyone else seems to get this right. What's wrong with me?" Or, "It's so unfair. No matter what I do, I cannot win, while everyone else has it made." Both of those statements are isolating, cutting us off in our own minds from the rest of humanity. This kind of isolation can lead to self-denigration or self-pity. Alternatively, imagine how much more resilient you would feel if instead that inner voice said, "Everyone fails sometimes. Those who eventually succeed just keep on trying despite failures." Or, "To be human is to be flawed. Just like everyone else, there are things I'd like to do but can't. There are times when I do or say the wrong thing." Practicing mindfulness is a way of noticing what is without judging, minimizing, or exaggerating it. In this way, mindfulness guards against over-identification. So, instead of your internal voice saying something like, "It's completely hopeless. I'm just a bomb exploding all over everyone," your inner voice might say, "Whoa, I'm feeling pretty angry. I'm also feeling afraid that in my anger I might say or do something hurtful that I'll regret." This mindfulness allows you to see what is and more clearly understand what you need to do to take care of yourself. Now that we've covered the 3 elements of self-compassion, let's hear an example and get some practice. Once upon a time, there was a single mother of 2 daughters, aged 3 and 5. The daughters were sweet, fun, rambunctious, and willful. Mom was weathering the fear, grief, and isolation of divorce and working hard every day at a stressful job. Meanwhile, her daughters were dealing with their own fear and grief due to their parents' divorce in the way that 3 and 5-year-olds do, regressing, tantruming, fighting, and not sleeping well at night. Mom had to get her daughters up early every day, get them fed and dressed, and in the car by 7 a.m. so she could get her 5-year-old to kindergarten in one town and her 3-year-old to childcare in another town before driving to work. Recent changes had made this more difficult for them all, so Mom had been getting to work 10 to 15 minutes late several days a week recently, which was becoming a big problem. And this is where pizza comes in. Mom had very few comforts in her life lately, and the night before she had treated herself and her daughters to a really good pizza from a close-by restaurant. There were 2 slices left over from their dinner, which Mom packed for her lunch the next day. Getting ready for work the next morning, Mom thought with happy anticipation about lunchtime when she would finally get to sit down without something to do or worry about and have her delicious pizza. That thought got her through the trials of the morning until her 5-year-old had a tantrum and refused to go to school, saying she hated it here and hated her mom and wanted to go to Dad's house. Under the circumstances, which picture do you think depicts a more compassionate response to the 5-year-old's outburst? Number 1 or number 2? Okay, I agree that picture number 2 looks like a more compassionate response. However, in response to her daughter's tantrum, Mom said, "Too bad, you've got to go to school and I've got to go to work." Mom hauled her 5-year-old over her shoulder, grabbed her pizza in her other hand, and walked to the car with her 3-year-old beside her. When Mom got to the car, her 5-year-old was still kicking and screaming. So Mom put her pizza on top of the car so she could buckle her daughters into their car seats. It was quite a struggle, but Mom was able to buckle her daughters in safely, and they were finally on their way, everyone feeling sad and worse for wear. Then, just as Mom pulled out of the driveway onto the road, splat went her beloved pizza all over the road behind them. Mom realized that it was a lost cause and just continued to drive towards her daughter's school. Mom began to have a lot of feelings. Given what you know of Mom's experience, which do you think represents a more compassionate response? Picture 1 or picture 2? Okay, I agree that picture 1 likely represents a more compassionate response. However, in response to the feelings Mom was having, Mom shouted at her 5-year-old, "Now look what you did! Because I had to carry you to the car, I forgot my pizza on the roof, and now it's splattered all over the road, and I don't have any lunch." As you can imagine, Mom's actions made everyone feel much worse than they already did. In order for Mom to be able to meet her daughter's needs, she first had to meet her own needs. Now, I'd like to share a simple 4-step process that Mom followed to get back on track. It's a simple process we can all recall and follow in those moments when we're struggling and perhaps not our best selves. RAIN stands for these 4 steps for practicing self-compassion and is described by Dr. Tara Brach in the article linked on this slide. Sharon will also put the link to this article in the chat. RAIN helps us practice self-kindness and mindfulness and helps us reconnect to our common humanity, ourselves, and our loved ones. R stands for recognize. Recognize what is happening inside of you at this moment. What are you feeling? A stands for allow. Allow what is happening to be what it is. Breathe. Don't try to fix, change, or judge it. What do you think Mom was feeling after she yelled at her 5-year-old? sad, angry, ashamed, afraid? Yes, I think Mom is probably feeling all of those things. Now that she recognizes that and is allowing those feelings to just be, she's able to mindfully move to the next step. I stands for investigate. Investigate with curiosity and care. Ask the thoughts and feelings what they believe. Once you understand the beliefs, then find out what you need right now. What do you think Mom's thoughts and feelings believed after she shouted at her daughter? Yes, her shame and fear believed that she was a horrible, out-of-control parent, which brings us to our next step. N stands for nurture. Nurture by offering yourself what you need in this moment. With her shame and fear, what do you think Mom needed at that moment? Yes, I think Mom needs to be kind to herself. Acknowledge that she's sad and overwhelmed, and that all parents do the wrong thing sometimes. I think Mom also needs to know that she is capable of being a good parent and repairing her relationship with her daughters. Which is exactly what Mom did. And of course, Mom is me. Once I practiced self-compassion by recognizing, allowing, investigating, and nurturing, I was able to tap into my love and compassion for my daughters, who were at that point upset and scared. I apologized for shouting, explained that I was really sad and overwhelmed, and unfortunately, I just had a tantrum, and that none of it was their fault at all. By the end of our car ride to kindergarten, we were all laughing together about how silly I had been. And my silly tantrum over pizza remains one of our favorite shared memories to this day, all because of the self-compassion that Rain helped me practice. The end. We have a few minutes left, so does anyone have a thought they'd like to share about self-compassion or Rain before we end today? Thanks so much for connecting today. We'd really value your feedback on how this session went and what could be improved. Sharon will add an evaluation link to the chat so you can share your thoughts. Up next in the Home But Not Alone Connection series is So Connected with Colleen Brady, where you'll have a chance to complete a simple sewing project that you can also work on with your kids. The link to sign up, along with some additional resources related to today's topic, and the evaluation link will be coming to you by email. We really hope to connect again. Thanks. Have a great day.